Can you hear me breathing? Except I'm gonna yawn now. La, 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 la.
Got almost 3 pages of notes.
Oh, yeah? Me too. I had a lot of feelings that like 3 of these episodes could just not have happened and life would be great.
Yeah.
Also,
Well,
you're on the IMDb responsibility.
okay.
How was your weekend?
My weekend. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, just okay. Save that for the end, a little secret.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome, all 10 of our listeners. You're my best friends, even though I don't know who you are. But I'll send you a Christmas card.
You've never sent anybody a Christmas card in their life.
Well, maybe 2020 will be the year. I did just order stamps online, so...
You ordered what?
Stamps online.
Oh. I ordered so many stamps online last year that USPS now sends me catalogs, like, every season that I think are supposed to go to, like, stamp collectors, because it's just basically a catalog of everything you can order from USPS, and even on the inside is an order form if you want to order by mail.
Was there a discount code? Should I have come to you first?
Oh, no. There's no discount codes for the post office.
That's true. Yeah, I realized I was out of stamps, and I used to pay some bills by mail because I'm 80, but then I decided not to do that anymore.
You and Kevin both do that.
Well, Kevin is Kevin. He's a rare species.
He had to leave our house early because his electric bill or some kind of utility bill was coming in the mail, and we were like, why don't you just pay it online? And he's like, I don't know, I never set that up and I don't have any of the information.
Like when I set up my electric, I did it all online, so I just I never even have received a bill from them. It's just automatically happens.
Yeah.
So I did go through Excel has every month you see how much energy and stuff you use, and it's tips to make your home more energy efficient, and I always go through them, but then realize because I live in an apartment there's no hope.
Your electric bill's already as cheap as it's going to be.
Well, let me tell you, quarantine is not great for my electric bill.
Yeah.
Anywho, we watched episodes 7 through 12, and it was a nightmare.
I would say it was a nightmare.
I mean, episodes 7, 8, and 12 can all stay, basically. But in
7,
between...
8, and 12.
Okay, maybe...
I guess we'll have to make that decision at the end, because I remember them off the top of my head, even though I just watched them today.
Yeah, exactly. My point. So should we start with episode 7, or do we want to talk more about our bills? I don't know.
We could introduce ourselves. Gosh, people don't remember.
Oh, I'm forgettable? I didn't think so. Well, I'm Callie.
And I'm Jen.
I fixed my mic
Welcome
today.
to Cardboard Empire.
TV edition.
I'm sure the listeners will appreciate you moving the mic further away from your mouth. Although I'm sure they're probably pretty used to mouth noises by now because I do it every episode.
Yeah, Yeah, please never do that again. Not on the TV edition. Whatever you guys do on in your film edition, that's fine. But TV edition, no.
Oh, you don't like fun and games?
Well, as you know, I hate the sound of chewing, especially when you chew gum.
Oh, yeah?
Please do not. Oh, God. I hate the sight of chewed gum, and she's showing me in our video chat her chewed gum. And I think I might just quit now.
I took it out of my mouth for recording.
That was kind.
Your residuals. I'll send you a penny in the mail.
You can't even cash it out yet.
I think we've crossed 15 cents, though.
Ooh. For us or for all of Cardboard Empire?
For all of Cardboard Empire.
The Empire. The Empire can still stand.
My media empire.
You know, if you haven't liked us on Facebook yet, Cardboard Empire, hit a like, smash that like
you'll
button.
Have to get me that. You'll have to get me that info because there's some way I can automatically share the episodes with Facebook, but I need Facebook info to connect to.
Cool.
Anyways, enough
Fantastic.
shop talk.
Bloop. Episode 7. Give me that.
Episode 7 of The Secret Life of the American Teenager. Let's see. This episode was released on August 12th, 2008. It is called Absent. Amy considers a change in her living situation.
You know what's funny is around August 7th, 2008, so were you. You're getting your dorm ready.
Yeah. Probably.
That was just a little fun fact. That's about all the excitement. Well, the episode started with Amy talking to her mom about how she is planning to go live with Mimsy. Because she doesn't want to...
their grandma.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be in the town anymore. She doesn't want people to see her pregnant. Typical 15-year-old girls. Feeling embarrassed about her situation. I don't know. But she does still bring up that she'll marry Ben. And wants to marry Ben.
God, fucking Ben.
Because
I literally have written, I hate Ben at the top of my notes.
Do you think she has Stockholm Syndrome?
Possibly. He's psycho.
Yeah.
But anyways, this was also the episode that I kept referring to in my head as the episode where everybody skipped school.
Me too. I wrote... Actually, my episode 7 was titled Men Are Trash.
There aren't a lot of great men in this show at all.
No, because how that kind of started was when, after Amy was talking to her mom about still wanting to marry Ben, she calls up Ben and is like, I'm not coming back to school. I'm going to go live with Grandma. And he goes, I'll die if I don't see you.
Yeah. Oh. She's like, don't do that. Makes it sound like you're gonna kill yourself.
Oh yeah. Exactly. I think she gets sane when she's not with him in person. Like slightly sane. It's definitely some Stockholm Syndrome, I swear.
Yeah. And Ricky is hiding out at Adrian's house.
So first he has the chat with his foster parents, and they're like, you need to be a man, go talk to Amy, figure out what she's doing with your baby.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go.
Because it is yours.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to go talk to her, but shows up at Adrian's.
Yeah. And then Amy's dad shows up at Adrian's.
Ooh. And then they finally meet.
Yes.
Ricky and George. And
George is like, you're going to have nothing to do with this kid, but you are going to send money.
Because, like I said, men are trash this episode. And Ricky pretends to play along.
And then George calls Ricky a worthless piece of trash.
Yes, I think that's where it started from, my thoughts. Besides Ben threatening to kill himself. Oh, and then he says, I could hit you, but I don't want to hit you because I know I wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
Because obviously the pregnancy was all one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
But really this talk with George kind of had the opposite effect on Ricky that George wanted, because it made him realize that, you know, I'm not trash. I want to stand up for my unborn child. I'm going to tell Amy that I want to be part of the baby's life, which she goes to her house and does.
But he figured all of that out when he went to see his therapist right after George yelled at him.
Right. And then after seeing the therapist, he goes to Amy's house, knocks on her door, and tells her, I'm part of this baby's life.
That's at the end of the episode. We've got some Grace action in the middle.
Well, sorry, this episode is nothing.
Because we do eventually go to school.
Oh, yes, like the one person there is Grace.
Yeah. And Grace is on her forgiveness train, is what I called it.
Yes. She decides that she forgives Jack and Adrian.
And she wants everybody to be friends.
Because that's Grace. And in her world, everything is fantastic.
Yeah, but then Adrian freaks out at her and is like, Ricky doesn't need a friend because I'm the only friend he needs.
Adrian is a lot.
She is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she only skips half the day of school. So she goes home at lunch and then she runs into George.
Yep.
At her house.
And what she finds at her house is that George bought her a desk.
Yeah, I did actually think that was pretty sweet. Throughout these 6 episodes, I do like George and Adrian's relationship.
It's a shame he can't have that relationship with his own children.
I know, but it shows that there is like 1% of good in him.
Yeah, but getting a desk was the best thing that's ever happened to Adrian. But she does notice that him getting her a gift means that George is planning on leaving her mom.
Yeah, George also got her mom an
armoire.
Yes,
but she appreciates the desk. And that goodness train leaves Adrian to show up to Grace's house.
And they become friends.
Yeah, and then she goes, well, I have a desk.
Yeah, I'd love to see it sometime.
But really, then
we get to Ricky at Amy's house.
Yes, sorry, I skipped ahead. He knocks
and I called this the responsible Ricky episode as well.
Yes. Sorry, my notes are all scattered. But yes.
I thought you said you organized them.
I know, but I kind of skipped a lot in my recap because I didn't find anything in this episode worthwhile. Besides,
I actually really liked this episode.
Ricky and George's fight. But yeah, Ricky shows up at Amy's house, says, I'm going to be involved in this baby's life. It is my child. And yeah.
I liked this episode.
Oh, George wants to come home.
Yeah.
That was the big thing. Home. Yeah. But that was basically all that happened in episode 7.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of like the strange couple relationship. People getting together who haven't been together so far this season.
I think I really just titled it Men Are Trash because it showed, well, Ben being a psycho.
Ben's always a psycho, though. That's nothing new.
George just being George and deciding what he's going to do for Amy's baby when he really has no say because he's a trash dad. Then George... Yeah,
I feel like if this series was filmed nowadays, George would probably be a Trump supporter.
Yes, 100%.
He's misogynistic. He's dumb. He's
sexist.
Arrogant. Yeah.
And then with George buying presents as a sign of a goodbye, thinking that could make everything better for Amy and her, or for Adrian and her mom. But yeah. Episode 8.
Episode 8. Your Cheatin' Heart. Amy's grandma visits and wants to help. We get to meet Mimsy this episode.
Yeah, so like we said in episode 7, Amy decided she's going to go live with Mimsy and hide out during her pregnancy. But Mimsy makes a surprise visit and shows up making bacon, and I think that's every way a grandma should show up unannounced.
Thick cut bacon, the real stuff.
And I appreciate Mimsy even more.
I know, I remembered during this episode that the few times they talked or mentioned Mimsy before, it made it seem like she was just a huge bitch.
Yeah, but I was like, Mimsy's great.
Yeah, but she's funny.
Yeah.
And
but
nice.
Then we then get a shot to George waking up in a bed that's not at his house. It's actually at his furniture store. And for some reason, he chooses the bed that's in the display window and not one that's hiding somewhere.
And he doesn't set an alarm to wake up before the world does.
And he's not wearing pants.
Yeah.
But that's George for you.
Yeah, bumbling moron. And then my next note is Ben is being emo.
For real. He starts seeing visions of Amy all over school, which, besides being emo, is just, again, 5,000 million times fucking creepy.
Yeah, and the counselor scores 1 in my book because he tells Ben, you just need to focus on something else.
Yeah, stop thinking about Amy. For some reason he can envision himself holding her hand. Like, it's just all so weird.
And God, I forgot who said it, but something, because Ben is like, I see her everywhere I look. And then I can't remember who said this line, but it was like, I can blind you. I can't remember if it was Henry or...
It was Henry.
Yeah.
And then Adrian also gets all emo and stuff too by basically telling Ricky that we can never be together.
Dumbest line ever.
We can never be together if you help Amy with the baby or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't
Like, we can't be together if you're gonna have a baby with Amy.
But also, like, especially if you're going to help her, why wouldn't you want a responsible person? Like,
Exactly.
But that's Adrian.
That's her daddy issues.
For real.
If I can't have a dad, then this baby can't have a dad.
Seriously. And then
she dumps him.
Yes, because they have such a toxic relationship.
Yeah, that just needs to never start up again.
Yeah.
It's not good for either of them.
During all this time, Ricky has decided that he wants to make contact with Amy. And for some reason, he doesn't have Amy's phone number, even though they've had sex. He's impregnated her. He knows he's impregnated her. He showed up at her house, blah, blah, blah. So he decides the only way he can get this phone number is if he starts seducing her best friends for it.
I think, was that this episode or was that next episode?
It carries on. So this is the one where Lauren and Madison, so Ricky flirts with Madison.
With Madison first.
And she says, no, I'm not giving you her phone number. If she wanted you to have it, you'd have it. And then he does his Ricky eyes, and she tells Lauren about it, and Lauren gets all jealous, like, Ricky would never flirt with you. I'm going to get him to flirt with me. Which causes some great friendship.
Yeah. And then throughout the episode, we see Mimsy's doing some kind of weird things throughout the episode that are just slightly off, so it gives you the impression that, something's up with her. Something's not right.
Her and Amy have now decided that the baby is not going to get adopted. Amy can raise the baby. The house is big enough. She can put the baby in dresser drawers, kitchen drawers. And yeah, you kind of start getting the feeling like something's up with Mimsy.
Mimsy's not all there.
Yeah. But also, through this episode, Ben and Henry learn that girls masturbate.
So much cringe.
And they learn that because Alice confirms it, and Henry becomes just obsessed and is jealous about the fact that his girlfriend's masturbating, but not having sex with him, and basically says it's selfish of her to have sex with herself and not him. Wants to know what she's thinking about while she's masturbating, all of this stuff. But, it's okay for him to masturbate and not her.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then we see Ricky over at Grace's house, and Tom, Grace's brother, actually wants to have a conversation with Ricky.
No.
And they talk about adoption because Tom was adopted, so he wanted Ricky to know more, like, hey, it's not always bad if this is what Amy decides to do, because it worked out pretty well for me.
It was one sweet moment in this episode.
Yeah.
Another one was Adrian wants to find her dad now.
Yes. And her and Jack team up together for a little breaking and entering of
they
the
break
high
into
school.
the counselor's office because they found out that the counselor has her birth certificate because he has the school records, and she wants to know who her dad is. And this kind of works out in her favor because the counselor shows up too and is like, well, I do think it's fair that you should know who your dad is if the school knows who your dad is. So she gets that from him. And that's kind of where this episode ends up.
Yeah. And then we move on to episode number 9.
I feel like there's been a lot of moving parts, but just still nothing like really matters to me because it's all just kind of dull. I don't know.
It's all just little subplots gaining traction.
It's a lot. So yeah, what's episode 9 about?
It's called Slice of Life. Adrian searches out her own father.
I thought this episode was good. A lot of things came to a boil.
Yeah, things happened. It starts out with Ashley and Amy going to spend the day with their father in his new place.
Yes, and it turns
for the first time.
George is using Adrian's apartment as his own. He uses his movers that he has from his furniture store to come take out all of their furniture. and bring in his own. It is good to mention now that Adrian's mom is a flight attendant, so that's why she's never home to know all these things. But yeah, Amy and Ashley come over for some daddy-daughter time. They're going to order pizza.
And then we get more fucking idiotic Ben moments.
Fuck
My
you,
note
Ben.
here is just stop, Ben, with a bunch of exclamation points, because this pissed me off so much.
Right?
Like, this is literally the first time Ashley and Amy are visiting with their father in his new, in quotes, apartment. They're having some father-daughter time. And Ben just is literally like, no, I'm going to come over. I want to see you, Amy. I'll pick up the pizza. I'm coming over.
And she's literally the whole time is like, oh, I don't know. I think this is just, my dad really wants it to be us. This is just our time.
Yeah,
blah,
she
blah,
keeps
blah.
telling him no, but he doesn't
And
listen.
he also says something weird that's saying, you belong to me. Like, no, she doesn't.
I noticed that a lot of like the fathers and the boyfriends refer to all of their women as
theirs.
My Amy, my Adrian, my Grace.
Make a quote book of all of the sexist, misogynistic quotes from this show and then burn it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I get it's 2008.
So annoying.
So some people weren't woke yet.
This is also when I started to realize that the majority of the women's names in this show start with the letter A.
Me too. I kind of thought on the fact that, you know how like some people name their kids all the same letter?
Yeah, so like the Amy and Ashley, I was like, okay,
but why
that's
did they do
family
A's?
thing.
There's Grace and Anne, or George and Anne, and then they decided to go with A's. But
yeah.
Adrian,
and then there's Adrian,
Alice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, so Ben invites himself over to the apartment, but before he leaves, Henry shows up at his house all mopey, and Ben, being a shit friend he is like, sorry bro, gotta go to Amy's house.
Where'd you go?
Sorry, I started getting a phone call. I don't know who's calling me. So then Ben is like, fine, Henry, you can come with.
Ugh, now we get creepiness.
Yeah, and then we get to the apartment, and George decides to pimp out his 13-year-old daughter, Ashley, to Henry.
I don't think he was pimping Henry out. I think he was trying to play a prank on Henry, because he talks up Ashley like, oh, she's such a sweet girl, a sweet cherub.
Oh.
Even though she's sassy and mean. Yeah, so I think he wanted to prank Henry and have Ashley yell at him or something.
I think I was still on the train of all men are trash.
Well, this is kind of because then he's like obsessing over a 13-year-old girl. And I get that like 13 to 15 is only 2 years, but
when one's in elementary
13
school,
is a lot
one's in middle
than
school.
15.
Yeah. But, you know, she's probably not masturbating and thinking about other people in his mind.
Oh, I bet she totally is.
Oh, yeah. But, like, he doesn't think that. But during this time with Ben over at Amy's dad's house, Ben's dad decides to go visit Amy's mom because for some reason Ben tells
I couldn't decide if this was creepy or sweet.
I think it was meant to be sweet because for some reason Ben's dad knows everything happening and he knows, you know, this is her first night without her kids. George has his own place now. Like, he knows her daughter's pregnant. I think he's probably trying to make up for the fact that he's been trying to marry off her underage daughter to his son.
That could be.
But it was a sweet gesture. She needed to let out some tears, and he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Adrian and Grace stalking out Adrian's dad's house.
Yes. They're sitting out there doing a stakeout, watching his house. Grace is getting uncomfortable. But
yeah, because it's getting late, so she does have to get home, and she knows that her brother's at home alone.
Oh, yes, with his friend. We'll get there.
She doesn't know about the friend yet.
But then Adrian's dad pops out and is like, who are you? Why are you stalking me? He looks at her a little bit and was like, Adrian? And then he freaks out and is like, you're not supposed to be here. Your mom agreed this would never happen.
I don't know how he knew it was her.
I think there's supposed to be a resemblance between her and her mother. But
yeah, I guess. It was still weird, and he was a dick.
He was a huge dick. But then we flash over to Grace's brother, who's home alone, who has decided to invite his girlfriend over.
Well, it's not a girlfriend, a friend.
Yes.
Who turns out to be a prostitute.
A prostitute who is played by the wonderful actress that I can't think of right now, but plays Elle Woods' best friend in Legally Blonde.
The nail artist.
Yes, the nail artist. I don't remember her name, but she's fantastic.
Yeah, her name's Betty in this show.
Yeah.
And she's actually really nice to Tom.
Yeah, she realizes, so I don't know if you've mentioned, but Tom has Down syndrome. And so she kind of realizes that, this isn't my normal client. This guy thinks that I'm here to be his girlfriend, to romance me. Kind of warns her, like...
So they just... Yeah, they have pizza and chat.
Mm-hmm. Lets him know that, you still need to pay because the mean guy's going to come if I don't get my $200.
Yep.
But basically saying, if you want to hang out again, call me directly. Kind of.
Yeah,
which
because
was nice.
not all the women and people who work here are nice.
Yeah, aren't gonna... Yeah. Which was, a sweet moment. But Ricky stops by during this whole time because he just wants to talk
Adrian's
to a friend.
house.
No, he goes to Grace's first.
Oh.
And then knows that Grace isn't home. And then, because he wants to just talk to someone. And then he goes to Adrian's house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of when
George's cover gets blown.
Yeah, Amy's still over there. And yeah, Amy and Ashley find out that they have been pranked by their dad, or punked. And then Amy really realizes that her dad's been having an affair.
Yeah, with Adrian's mom.
Yeah, because she's been playing naive this whole time. So that sucks. But
and then we also found out that Alice dumped Henry.
Yes, and that's why
he's all mopey.
Yeah, and now Jack and Alice are together. I don't know if that was ever fully mentioned, but it is
in the next episode.
Oh, but then also throughout this, Ricky goes to Lauren's house because he's still trying to get Amy's phone number, and Lauren, being the horrible friend she is, makes out with Ricky. Yeah. And Madison finds out because she's hanging out with Lauren's brother now.
Jason.
Yeah, and basically her friends still fucking suck. And that was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and then at the end of the episode, Ashley and Amy's mom, because they find out that George has been sleeping at the furniture store, so Ashley and Amy's mom has the realization, like, oh, he's not staying in a hotel or renting anything.
Yeah.
So that means we're broke.
And Ashley also catches on to that.
And Ashley does a great speech. Yeah, but I took down some of Ashley's quotes because they made me laugh out loud. And it's, you cannot let him display our poverty to the public. Being poor is the ultimate humiliation.
Right.
Like, really? All the things going on in your family right now, being poor is the one that you're most devastated by.
She also had a great one, too, in episode 7 that I wrote down, where Amy's telling Ashley that she's going to be late for school, and then Ashley goes, at least I'm not late for my period.
That's a good one, too.
Burn.
And then...
But then Anne is like, okay, call your dad, tell him to come stay here because we can't have him sleeping in the furniture store.
Yeah. And was this the last episode with Mimsy? Like, she fully admits she's got Alzheimer's?
Yeah. So Mimsy lets Anne know, I've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I know I said Amy can come stay with me, but I've already sold my house. And I'm going to go stay in a care facility.
Yeah, and she's going to go on one last trip with her friends from the care facility while she still can.
Yep. And so
I also wrote down... Well, you can finish your thought because
that brings us to episode 10.
Oh, well, I had one more quote from this episode from Betty. She lights up a cigarette in Tom's house, and Tom's like, you shouldn't smoke. That's bad for you. And then she's like, I can't remember her exact words before this quote, but she basically says that she's got a lot of other stuff going on in her life right now, and she hopes she lives long enough to die of lung cancer. It's like, what is this show?
Wow. That's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
And then,
wait. I was going to say, before all that, Ashley actually walks in on this moment between George and Adrian, because Adrian's upset that her bio dad, said basically scram. And Ashley overhears George telling Adrian that any dad should be lucky to have her as a daughter.
Yeah.
And that pisses off Ashley because, that sucks.
And then she's giving her dad the silent treatment.
Yeah, but then she has to call him to say, you can come live with us. Anywho,
yeah. Episode 10, Back to School Special.
This is...
Adrian's mother encourages Adrian to have a relationship with her father.
This is the episode that I just think never needed to happen. It was...
Yeah, I think it's the one I wrote the least amount of notes for.
Like, a lot of things happen, but I just don't care. But it kind of starts with Anne gets a call that Mimsy got on the wrong flight.
Yeah.
Somehow she got separated from her care facility, ended up in the wrong airport. So she was going, what are you doing? Jen's got I think it's part of her lava lamp. Mm-hmm. On her head, whatever. She ends up. It's
really warm.
She ends up at the wrong airport, and Anne's decided, I'm gonna go find Mimsy so we can get her to where she needs to go. Which I just think of the timing of, like, you miss your flight or you get on the wrong flight. You're in an airport, but now you're gonna get on a flight to meet that person in the airport. Like, the airport is the wrong place and the worst place to find someone, especially someone with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and it's like. So Mimsy was supposed to be in New York, but she went to Chicago on accident. Mm-hmm. This show takes place in Los Angeles. A flight from LA to Chicago is going to be several hours.
Yeah, especially even if it's direct.
Yeah. And assuming, like, by the time Mimsy called... Yeah, she's just going to wait, like, for a full day.
Maybe, hopefully, like, airport security got involved. I don't know.
Yeah. They don't explain it well. The timing is odd.
But yeah, so Anne leaves, and this is supposed to be the day that Amy starts her first day at the pregnant girls' school.
But it starts with Adrian's dad stopping by Adrian's house while Adrian is half naked with Ricky. Yeah.
Is this also where Adrian and Ricky are fighting, and then they have their toxic moment? And yeah, so I wrote... Adrian and Ricky are fighting, and they get turned on by insulting each other, and it's so fucking toxic. That's what I wrote. Oh, yeah. Adrian talks to Ricky about Amy. She's crazy. They insult each other, and then they make out.
Yeah, and then Daddy shows up, and she answers the door in her bra.
No words. I just have a feeling like her mom's a really good flight attendant, because flight attendants don't make that much money. But she's bilingual.
They clearly do, because she's able to afford a condo in LA, plus save up enough money to pay for all 4 years of Adrian's college.
Are magnet schools private?
No, Buffalo High School is a magnet school.
Okay.
It just means they focus on one. They have, like, Buffalo High School is an arts magnet school, so they have really good art classes and art programs, and I think it gets mentioned at some point, but the school in this show is like a music magnet school, and that's why the marching band is so good and prominent.
Yeah. But yeah, so she must be like a Delta flight attendant. She's bilingual, so she's on like all the good flights. Anywho, that was just my theory of like Adrian has all these good bras and stuff. Bras are really expensive. But yeah, so that happens. Adrian talks to her dad. They're gonna start having a semi-relationship, attempt to communicate.
Yeah, and George is supposed to be taking Amy to her first day at her extension school for
But George doesn't believe.
independent women.
Yeah, but George doesn't think she should go there.
No, he wants her to go to her normal high school.
So that's where he brings her. Also, before all this, Grace talks to her dad and tells him, I want to be with Jack. And didn't really go well, but
No.
But
and
yeah.
then we cut to school, and
Ben's
Lauren is defending making out with Ricky.
Yeah, because she's a shit friend. Madison says you're a dumbass, which is a lot coming from Madison. She's a dumbass. But we also see Ben getting in a fight because someone was talking trash about Amy. And
that's later. Because I've got something before that.
Such a hot mess.
This is also the episode where we see Henry and Jack, or Alice and Jack, walking into school together holding hands.
Yeah. That's true. I kind of zoned out a lot.
This school drama happens.
Yeah, and
when Amy gets there.
Everybody's parent shows up.
Yeah, for some reason.
That's I kept zoning out during this episode, and that's all I really got out of it. I know basically once the parents get there.
All right. I'll take over for a minute.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we mentioned Alice and Jack walk into school holding hands. So everybody sees and presumes, oh, they're the new hot couple. And then Madison and Jason also come in together. Yeah. And then Madison and Jason are together, and we see them. And then eventually Amy shows up, and it's like, oh,
dun, dun, dun.
Amy's back. And then Ben runs over to her, and they have a really corny hug in the hallway. And then the rumors start flying around, and oh, I thought she was supposed to go to the slut school, because that's what they're calling it. And you hear it about 1,000 times this episode.
Slut school.
Yeah. And then that's when Ben tries to defend Amy's honor, even though Ben's 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And then the guy who beats him up is 200 pounds.
Yeah. And so Grace finds Ben getting beat up, brings him to the principal or the nurse to get fixed. Somehow reason the cops come for a school fight.
Well, it is assault.
Yeah, but I don't ever remember police coming for a high school fight.
I don't know.
I mean, I've never really seen a school fight.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of those.
Yeah.
So we don't know how they were handled.
So then kind of all the parents get called down to the school. George shows up. Adrian's mom shows up. Grace's mom shows up. That's where we're at. They're all sitting Grace's mom and George are sitting in the principal's office together. And if we didn't mention before, they used to be married.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adrian's mom shows up. Why did she show up again?
I don't remember.
I
didn't have anything about that written down. My next stuff, I think, happens after the parents leave and they're all still at school, the kids.
Yeah. So then during that time, Grace's mom calls out George's dad for having an affair with Adrian's mom. And it all kind of comes to light that, George is a trash human. And then during that time, too, Lauren is starting to feel guilty about making out with Ricky. And she calls her dad for advice. And we learn that Lauren's dad is Ricky's therapist. And so then Lauren's dad comes to the school because he's going to have a talk with Ricky now.
Yeah, and basically just tells him, make sure you're at your appointment tonight because we got shit to talk about.
I feel like there's a lot of confidentiality issues happening, but, know. But also what I forgot to say during Grace's mom and Amy's dad talking, we learned that Grace's mom was actually the one that cheated on George and not the other way around as a lot of people had suspected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Yeah.
Then I don't know, we can flash forward to that evening at Ricky's therapy appointment when he assures Lauren's dad, don't worry, I'm not going to sleep with Lauren because I'm in love with Grace.
But also during
And
that
then
time,
Alice and Henry get together
yeah, and they have sex.
with a condom, and it
Thank
wasn't
God.
very good.
Thank God. Some normalcy in this show.
Yeah, neither of them enjoyed it.
No, but did they tell each other that?
Yeah.
Okay. But then
Jack.
Jack visits Grace, and he is trying to talk to Grace like, I'm sorry I was with Alice, but I want to be with you. I love you. What can I
Yeah, we
do?
were basically only together to make each other's partners jealous.
Yeah. Jack decides he's going to wear a promise ring. And during that time, Grace has decided that she's going to take off her promise ring because
Yep.
she
And
doesn't
that she's done with Jack.
she's done with Jack. She wants Ricky, and that she doesn't need a ring to show her purity to God. And then,
Yeah.
well,
And then we get next morning at school.
yeah, and Amy's going back to the normal school, and Grace has decided to put together this whole thing where all of the girls of the school are going to walk Amy to class because she should feel welcome there. It's supposed to be a cheesy moment, and I rolled my eyes.
Yeah, nice sentiment, but wow, you guys made it real corny.
Yeah, I kind of wanted them to hold hands and sing This Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, and then the only other thing of real importance is that Adrian decides she's going to run away, and she asks Ricky to go with her, but Ricky says no.
Good.
Yeah, and then that brings us to number 11. Just say no. Adrian is missing, which prompts her dad to get involved in her life.
This is also an episode I decided did not need to happen, but it did.
Yeah.
But I also titled it Therapy.
I also wrote that down, just the word therapy.
And for some reason, I kind of was proud of Ben a little bit in this episode, which took me by surprise too, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
I've just got one note about him, and I think it's probably the same thing you wrote about.
I have two things. But first, this episode starts out with Amy really finds out about Lauren and Ricky making out.
Yep. Her news is out.
Yeah. And then Lauren decides to defend it by saying, like, well, I found out about it because my dad's his therapist. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then Madison, being the shitty person she is and shitty friend that she is and loudmouth that she is, says very loudly to the whole school, Ricky's a mental patient.
Oh my God, Ricky's crazy.
Oh my God. But then also during that time, Lauren decides to tell Amy about Ricky's history of sexual abuse by his father, which again...
Well, we're not there yet.
Why does she know? Okay, sorry.
Because I have something I wanted to mention that happened at the beginning, which I can't remember exactly when it happened. I think it was maybe post Lauren's news coming out, but Ricky's at school and he sees some other girl that he must have had sex with at some point. I can't remember her name, but it's basically like, hey, call me sometime. And she says, okay, yeah, sure, Ricky. And then Ricky does the stupidest cartwheel in the hallways I've ever seen. It wasn't even a good cartwheel. His legs never really went up in the air, but he did a cartwheel in the middle of the hallway. And I was like, what is this? What was the point of putting this in here when the kid clearly can't cartwheel?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But after that, everyone's like, oh my God, did you hear Ricky goes to therapy? Ricky's mental, blah, blah, blah. And so Jack goes up to Grace and is like, oh, did you hear your boyfriend's a mental patient? And then Grace goes, well, I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
And then Jack's like, shh, you don't want people thinking you're mental.
You already are Christian. You've got 2 strikes against you now. You're a crazy Christian.
And then Grace goes, there I am, crazy Christian Grace. Oh no. And I loved it. I loved it so much.
Yeah, that was a nice moment for Grace.
And then she basically told Jack to fuck off.
Yep. And Ricky's secret's out in the world.
Yeah, so then we have Amy and Ben talking about Ricky going to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was kind of like, point for Ben, but still doesn't even out his points because he's got a lot of strikes. Saying that, therapy's good. He went to therapy when his mom died, kind of told Amy, well, maybe you should think about going to therapy. You've got a lot of shit going on in your life. It could help
Yeah.
you. And I was like, oh, what, Ben? Like, you actually want Amy talking to someone other than you? But yeah, that was a good point.
Yeah, and then
Adrian's missing.
Amy offers sex to Ben.
Oh, yep. And then Ben says no.
Yeah.
And that was my two.
Yeah. And I liked when they were talking about it at some point. I think it's Ben, and he's like, does this kind of sound like we're negotiating the fair trade agreement? And he's like, yeah.
That was great. Fantastic.
And then Henry and Alice have sex again to try and see if it'll be better. But it's not.
No.
Yeah.
But then
I think that's when I don't know if it's ever mentioned again.
Oh.
We're not there yet.
Just I guess this whole episode.
Yeah, the missing is always just kind of going on. They keep cutting to her and she's driving in her car down the Pacific Coast Highway.
Also, the guidance counselor is missing too.
They don't really we don't know where he is.
Him, but people have decided that they've run off together.
Yeah, which is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
And this is when Adrian's dad goes to the high school to try to find out where she is, and he ends up being like the fill-in guidance counselor for the day as all the kids come in and share their secrets to him. And
people are keep talking about how slutty Adrian is too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of awkward. And he's a district attorney, so he does get all attorney-like. He calls Grayson for questioning, essentially. Yeah. And she's like, I know all about talking to cops. I talked to them yesterday. Like, okay, cool.
And then eventually Adrian does get pulled over, and the cop recognizes that, hey, this is so-and-so's daughter. Mm-hmm. So he calls her dad, and her dad's like, well, just hold on to her. Yeah. And like, well, I've got nothing to hold her for. And then Grace is like, truancy. Or somebody says truancy.
Yeah. I don't know who. But during that time, Ricky's hearing this, and he calls Adrian. She answers the phone when she's pulled over and is like, hey, your dad knows where you are.
Yeah, someone just called dear dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we get, later that night, we have Ashley and George reading Amy's diary, trying to figure out if she's sleeping with Ben.
In which they've decided she's not.
Because she just writes poems about teacups and the moon.
Yeah. But then they also start talking about some nice moments. They talk about Ashley's birth.
Yeah, because he tries to give her the sex talk, and she's like, no, I've got the internet and a pregnant sister. Dad, I'm good.
Yeah. And then Anne comes. Grace and Ricky hang out, and they bake cookies together.
Yeah, and I also wrote, because it was super fucking awkward, because Grace tied Ricky's apron for him. But it wasn't even like because it was behind his back. She was behind him, and she reached around and tied it in the front. And I was like, that's the most awkward thing I've ever seen. She wants
to kiss him.
Yeah, and then also during that cookie making time, Ricky makes out with Grace's hand, and it was the grossest thing I've ever seen.
Somehow he impregnated a girl. Don't know how.
And then Tom is supposed to be watching them.
Yes, but
instead he just took money from Grace to stay out of the kitchen, money from Grace's dad to stay in the kitchen, and it's like, I'm saving up for Betty time.
But also during this time, Anne ran into an old friend at the airport or something. And she gets
like a friend from college or something.
She gets all great looking to go hang out, to go to dinner with this guy, and George calls her out for looking hot. Accuses her of cheating on him. During that moment, they also talked about how they conceived their kids. Apparently, Ashley was conceived in a cemetery, which I guess makes a lot of sense.
That's what they said.
And then
Amy was conceived on a surfboard.
Yes. But then during that time, Anne and George really have a talk. And George is trying to win her back, and Anne's like, I don't love you. I don't. Yep. I want a divorce.
Yep. The official talk.
Yeah. that's kind of where it ended.
That is where it ended.
I think Adrian does come home and accuses her dad of overstepping.
Yeah.
Because he's not really her dad yet.
No, they've known each other for like a day.
Mm-hmm.
Not even.
Yeah.
And then we move to episode 12.
The worst thing in the world.
Wedding. You gotta let me say it.
The worst thing in the world.
Okay.
Go on.
Callie.
You guys know we're sisters, so there's that.
The secret wedding of the American teenager. Because that's a thing.
Worst thing in the world. Well,
I did like the way it started, though.
A shit show. First, this episode starts with Amy wearing shorts with leggings or tights.
That was the style.
It was great. Her mom's like, "Aren't you supposed to be at a car wash?" And she's like, "Mom, I'm pregnant. But we're gonna bring our car there and pay them to wash our car later." Okay. So This is just how my voice of Amy throughout this whole episode, because she was such a brat.
She was. Yeah, she goes downstairs and I can't remember, does Amy's mom ask her what she wants for breakfast or does she just announce?
No, Amy says she's hungry.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I'll take an egg white omelet with toast and something else. An orange juice."
An egg white omelet with spinach, some whole wheat toast, and orange juice.
Yeah, orange juice. And then Anne's like, "Yeah, I'll take that too. Sounds
Anne
great."
Comes the fuck back and drops a heavy load of reality on Amy. He's like, "Amy, you're about to be a mom. You have to take care of another human. You're going to have to get a job, pay for said human, pay for childcare."
And then she's like, "I'll always take care of you, but because you're my child, but that's not my child in you."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm going to go back to work
because I'm going
to live my life." And Amy's like, "Oh, but you were supposed to stay at home and take care of my baby while I go to school and I go to band practice. And you guys are supposed to pay for everything. I thought Dad was going to move back in and we were going to be all hunky-dory while you two raise my kid and I go live my teenage life."
And Anne's like, "Fuck you.
Fuck you. You're the one that chose to have this baby. You're going to be the one to raise your baby."
Exactly. Get a job. And so Amy lies to her mom and is like, "Fine, drive me to this cafe so I can apply for a job." But she meets her love, Ben, there. And during this time, she's bitching about Anne being a parent and is like,
yeah.
And Ben's like, "Well, who drove you here?" And she's like, "My mom did. I told her I was applying for a job, but I really just wanted breakfast."
Yeah. She's like, "Hey, you still want to marry me?"
Yeah. And she proposes this wedding to Ben of like, "We're getting married because you said you'll take care of my baby." And Ben's like, "Well, how can we do this?" And she goes, "Fake IDs, of course."
Of course.
And Ben is kind of trying to be the realist here of like, "Well, I kind of wanted my dad as my best man. Can we tell our parents about it? Can my dad at least come?" And
yeah,
Amy's
I
like,
wanted all of our family there.
And Amy's like, "This isn't going to be the type of wedding that we send out invites for." And she's like being such a brat.
She's being 15.
This isn't even Ben's kid.
Nope. But Ben doesn't care.
Yeah, that's true. But Ben won't have sex with her. And basically, that's where we're at. They decided they're going to elope with fake IDs.
Yeah, and Adrian's decided she's going to get her parents back together.
So her dad suggested, let's have dinner, let's talk, your mom can come. And Adrian decided to play Parent Trap.
Yeah, and while all that's happening at the school where the car wash is happening, the cheater guy who was writing the essays for everyone, I guess apparently also makes fake IDs, and he's set up his station in the counselor's office.
Yeah.
And we just see throughout the day all the different kids come in and get IDs and finding out that, "Oh my God, Amy and Ben are getting married. Where? Give me the details. Give me an ID."
Right. And so they're all getting IDs. But Grace is going to talk to her mom about dating Ricky. And I guess at the end of the last episode, Grace's dad left for a golf trip because him and her mom kind of got in a little fight about her marriage with George or something.
Hmm.
But Grace's mom was talking to Grace about sex and Ricky and all of this, and basically dropped a bomb on Grace saying that she only married George because she wanted, yes, to have sex. And she regrets it, and she ended up cheating on George with Grace's dad. Blah, blah, blah. But now Ricky and Grace can date, and so Grace calls Ricky and is like, oh my god, we can date. And he doesn't seem too thrilled, but is kind of like still in his head, like, well, I can still do Flower, the crazy Christian girl, and invites her to Ben and Amy's wedding.
Yes. And Adrian's not happy with that plan, so she decides she's going to crash the wedding too.
Mm-hmm. And she's telling her mom that, I'll meet you at dinner. You go to dinner with Dad. I'll be there after this wedding. Still trying to play Parent Trap.
And while the kids are all finding out about the wedding and getting their stupid IDs made, George is supposed to be finding a new place to live.
Mm-hmm. But he's not really.
And he's told Ashley that he found somewhere close to move to. And he literally just moved into the garage of their house.
Yes, but no one knows that yet. But we also cut to Amy telling Ashley that she's planning on marrying Ben, asks Ashley to be her witness along with Henry. Ashley's kind of like, you serious? Blah, blah, blah. And Amy goes, I'm practically an adult. I need to start making my own decisions. I'm marrying a guy I'm madly in love with. Okay. Okay. But then, so Amy brings Ashley to the school to get her fake ID to be the witness. And I guess Anne was there getting her car washed. So she sees her daughters at the school and they're kind of chatting. And then Ben and Henry show up, and to be able to have Ashley hang out with them later for the wedding, Henry asks Anne permission to ask Ashley out on a date. So they can all double date tonight.
Yeah.
And so now...
Very awkward.
There's a lot going on.
A lot of awkwardness in this episode.
Yeah. But then we kind of cut back to Grace's house where Tom is still talking about his girlfriend Betty, but Grace's mom has decided to set him up with someone else. So we meet...
A new girl moved to the neighborhood.
We move Tom's new girlfriend, Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy and Tom are cuties. They invite themselves on Ricky and Grace's date to the wedding. Grace isn't too thrilled about it.
I think Tammy also has Down syndrome, doesn't she?
She does.
Yeah.
So, kind of a better fit than the prostitute.
A little bit.
But
then I think we're at the wedding.
We were at the wedding, but I also wrote Amy's dad as a sexist pig before the wedding, so I don't know what that was referring to.
Yeah, I've also got at the beginning of this episode's note, it's dad still sucks.
Anne is talking to George about get out of the house, I'm getting a job, and George is sitting at the house during lunchtime, and Anne is still talking to George about how she's getting a job, how she was a women's studies major, and George basically said, you weren't good at women's studies or else you'd have made me a sandwich by now.
Yeah.
So fuck you, George.
Yeah, this was a really bad episode for George.
Yeah, very much so.
I don't think he did anything good.
No, but now we're at the wedding chapel, and Lauren and Madison show up in matching dresses because they were both
bridesmaid dresses.
Apparently, they were both bridesmaids for Lauren's dad's wedding or someone's wedding.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how maybe they could be co-maid of honors, even though Lauren sucks and made out with Ricky.
And Alice is the maid of honor.
Ashley.
Yeah. Too many A names.
But yeah, so they're at the wedding. The wedding chapel officiant guy comes Albert comes up to Ashley and Henry thinking that they're the bride and groom. And Ashley goes, well, do I look pregnant to you? Or something. And then Ben and Amy then show up. Apparently Albert says all their fake IDs are good to go, even though...
Because they have a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yes, the don't ask, don't tell policy. So the wedding begins, and the doors open, and Amy sees that her whole grade is essentially there. And she has a slight panic attack. But her and Ben still walk down the aisle. Lauren and Madison run up behind her to be their co-maid of honors without any permission whatsoever. They make it down the aisle. They say some vows.
Get married.
They get married. And what the fuck?
Oh, and Tom and Tammy decide they're next.
Yeah, the episode ends with, I now pronounce you Mr. and Mrs. Ben Boykovich. And then Tom and Tammy say, I'm going, we're next.
Yeah.
And cue to the end of the episode. And what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, 15-year-olds getting married. Real cool.
Fantastic. I have no words. I just can't. With the show, I can't believe the season isn't over.
We're only halfway through.
Can't believe the show is real. I still love it, and I still have watched it 3 times through, probably. But when you were finishing the last episode, your husband, partner, I don't know what you refer to him as on the show, was watching it alongside of you. Taylor had a lot of views on the show, and they were all fantastic thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't like teen TV.
No, he had a lot of issues with the fake IDs, how they were working.
Yeah.
But I did ask him a very serious question of would he rather watch 5 hours of Secret Life of the American Teenager or 5 hours of The Bachelor, and he surprisingly said The Bachelor. It's just...
Yeah, I don't understand it.
No. So what are your thoughts on the first 12 episodes of Secret Life?
Well, we just talked about my thoughts.
I don't know. I
thought we
mean,
were moving into the weekend conversation.
Okay.
We're already over an hour.
I didn't know if we were recapping our recap. I don't know. I have a fever. I have a fever I can't sweat out.
Yeah.
So what happened this weekend, Jen?
I built my Connects Ferris wheel.
Didn't you already build it?
I built, this is the pack I bought builds 3 amusement park rides.
Oh.
I've built 2 of them so far.
Okay. I remember when we were little and you got the roller coaster that went across your whole bedroom.
Oh, I know.
What did I get instead of that? Like, probably an American
Is that your
Girl
big
doll.
fancy dollhouse or something, you know? That Victoria one you had with all the little parts that me and Mom spent hours and hours building for you?
No, because you got a castle.
No, I didn't.
Maybe. Probably. So you made that. Anything else?
Well, I finished the Hill House haunting show. The Haunting of Hill House.
Did the second season come out, or is that the first season?
No, the first season. I hadn't watched it until now. I finished that Friday night.
It's really good.
I hated the ending.
How did it end again? Spoiler alert. I watched it like a year ago.
It was like all happy. The dad died in order to save the kids, and the kids all lived happily ever after.
But they had a birthday party where it kind of suspected that something was coming.
Well, the person of the show also said that they're done with that family story.
Yeah, which was kind of like they set up the ending to have a second season, kind of.
Yeah, that's why I think it was stupid.
Yeah,
like, you guys could have done so much more.
They're moving on to a new family, even though the younger twin, the twin girl, who was also in season 2 of You.
Yeah, Nell
is going to be an actress in the new season. So it's all kind of confusing.
Well, because they said the family's done, but they're not done with the house.
I know,
so she's haunting the house.
Oh, maybe.
Because she's a ghost there now.
That's true. It's a good show, though.
It was. I really loved it up until like the last 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was disappointed.
Like all the stuff during the funeral was just...
Yeah.
During Nell's funeral.
Yeah. And then what else? I don't know. I think I just watched some more horror movies. I haven't really found a new show to watch yet, so
Yeah,
just
I
been doing a
understand
lot
that.
of movies.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
I
wa-
cooked anything.
no. No, you made your apple trifle.
Yeah, but that was last week. But I guess I didn't talk about that. But I
Mm-hmm.
did make an apple trifle dessert with some cinnamony apple puree, then a
Yeah.
layer of whipped cream, and then candied pecans. It's
Mm,
delightful.
good. What did I do? I Friday. I really didn't. Well, Saturday our parents came over. I know shouldn't have them traveling, but they came over some Mother's Day celebrations. Watched a lot of Shark Tank while they were here.
Fun.
Yeah. Ordered in some pizza and wings and desserts.
Heard. You
Mom really
made them
wanted.
eat pizza luce,
I did.
even though it's not that good.
I mean, the only options around me are Pizza Luce, Domino's, or Pizza Hut. Else we'd have to like travel for takeout.
Well, Pizza Hut's better than pizza luce.
Yeah, but I don't. I wanted Pizza Luce's good wings. And dessert. Mom wanted cheesecake, so Pizza Luce had cheesecake. It was very expensive.
I heard.
Spent $100 with
I
tip.
heard.
But we have a lot of
everything
extra pizza.
everything you do, I hear from mom.
I know. My cat bit me. My hand is now infected.
Mm.
100 and I've had up to 101-degree fever because of it. Some amoxicillin. Finn was in a mood. It's very weird. He gets like in a mood once a year
Yeah.
where he's just like, so it was like as soon as Nick left for work Saturday morning, he just sat at our door and cried. Then I would be able to distract him for like a few minutes, be like, Finn, I'm still here, like come cuddle. And he'd come and lay on me for like 3 minutes and then run back to the door and scream and was just in like some weird mood. And then once our parents came, he was like being super needy and clingy. And
Is
so
he
he was
sick?
like, no, he's not. He just gets like, so before he used to be super anxious and like Nick had him on anti anxiety meds.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just since he's become the older cat in the situation, because before he was the kitten that would get picked on by a
Yeah.
girl cat, that was when he had like all his UTI issues and stuff. But since we have Bean and stuff, and he's like the cat in charge, he's been fine. But he's not acting like he has a UTI or anything. But he was just being super needy, and he was laying on me, and I went to go show Mom our new futon, and he wanted me to keep carrying him. So I was like carrying him to the room, and I was going to set him down, and he just like latched onto my hand.
Yeah.
Super, yeah. So now my hand is infected. It's great. It hurts.
If you washed
But
your hands more, it wouldn't get infected.
I do wash them. I even, after I got bit too, because I had to buy this like hospital grade soap before I had my hand surgery in February. So I had some left over, and that's what I washed it with after. I was like, that hurt. But and Sunday we went over to Nick's parents' house for Mother's Day. His mom or his dad's coworker has chickens and has been giving them a bunch of eggs. So she made like 24 deviled eggs and gave
Yeah.
us some, and now she's got some more deviled eggs for us, which I'll always accept. Um, but yeah, I need a new show to watch. I need to start Hollywood.
It's good.
Yeah. What else? I feel like I've been watching movies on Netflix, but nothing like exciting. Nothing that you
Welcome
haven't
to my
seen
life.
already. um, have you watched the new Jerry Seinfeld?
I don't like
The
him.
yeah, I didn't think like I don't either. It's the only new thing out. Well, I didn't know if it was maybe good. Let's check my Netflix to see what I watched this weekend. What are you guys doing the rest of your week? Are
I
you
don't know the same
working?
thing we do all week.
Is Taylor
I work
working?
every day.
Well, is
Yeah, we
school
both
still
work every
going?
day.
I don't know if school was still going on.
It's Maymester now and he's grading for a class.
So how was his student teaching going during quarantine? Teaching German via Zoom.
I think it was fine. They do meetings a couple days a week, otherwise he just uploads stuff.
I remembered what I watched now. I watched season 2 of Dead to Me.
I haven't done that. I've been rewatching the first season to remember what happened.
Mm-hmm. It was really good. A lot
Yeah,
of
but
people
that
didn't
show
really
is so
like it.
short.
Yeah, they put Community on Netflix.
I don't like Community.
So I've been playing that in the background. Have you watched Greenhouse Academy?
No.
You should watch that. It's like a good teen drama on Netflix. It's a quick watch. They're like 25 minutes.
They like talk about growing things.
No, it's not. It's actually, the name is very misleading. It's kind of like a smart kid academy.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's really good. But I also watched season 4 of Working Moms.
Yeah, I never did that show.
That one's really good.
It just always annoys me. Like, ugh. I don't know. Every time, now that Netflix autoplays all of these previews, and when that
Yeah,
show first came out, it just bugged me so much that I was like,
it got a
no.
lot better. The one movie I did watch on Friday, I watched Dangerous Lies, which I know you don't like.
I watched that.
You did watch it? You don't like Camila Mendes?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good, like, corny
Stupid.
Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
feel
it was
no
interesting.
feel no way about it. It killed an hour and a half.
It's like that Brenda Song movie, that one that came around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that quality.
Trying to
Yeah.
find out what I've been watching, but
Yeah, there's nothing really great out there. If any of our listeners have any suggestions for 20-ish year old girls that upper 20s year old girls that like terrible teenage dramas, let us know.
I'll watch almost everything.
Have you watched Elite?
I tried, but I can do movies in subtitles, but I can't do shows, I found out.
Yeah,
Because I like to flip like between scrolling through my phone and stuff, and I can't do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
A
I
lot of
really
people
wanted
keep
to.
yeah, everyone's like, you need to watch this, is such a great show. How
Yeah.
about All American?
No, I thought that was just like a football documentary.
So did I, but people keep saying that it's got the same it's kind of like Friday Night Lights. Apparently the
But
description wasn't.
isn't it still a reality show?
No, it's inspired by a pro football player. So apparently it's inspired by this football player's life, but it's like Friday Night Lights-ish.
Oh.
I thought it was, I think there's a documentary called All American too.
Yeah.
But apparently that's super good. I might watch that. Did you watch Outer Banks yet?
I haven't. I keep
Oh my
putting it
God,
off.
you have to watch it.
I also have to do the 3rd season of On My Block.
Oh, I have to watch that still too. So maybe we do have things to do with our lives.
I think it's because I got myself in this horror mode that I want to keep going with it. But I'm running out of things.
I was telling Nick that at the beginning of our relationship, we used to watch so many horror movies. It was like our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't watched one in so long. Because he's been on this like sci-fi kick, and it's kind of like with us watching Westworld and stuff that like I can't watch sci-fi movies and stuff.
Yeah, I'm on my horror thriller train. I'm going to ride it till the end.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, dinner time?
I ate already. That's why I was out in the living room, because Taylor picked up sandwiches, and that's why we watched the last episode together. So I was like, I want to eat now, but I can either watch in the room alone, or you could put up with this and we'll hang out together. And
yeah,
eat.
it's our date night.
We'll watch a horror movie.
Yeah, he'll probably want to watch Westworld, which I know. I'll try to make him watch a movie though, because we started this current season of Westworld, and it's a lot.
3?
Yeah. It's a lot. that I just don't care. I just kind of sit and watch. And they're over an hour long because it's
HBO.
It's HBO. It's a lot. Okay.
Well, the movie Sinister is good. It's on Netflix and it's scary. And there's a sequel too. I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah.
It's got Ethan Hawke in it.
Ooh.
You know I like him.
Ethan Hawke is a good one. I read the book Defending Jacob yesterday and today. They just put the show out on Apple Plus or Apple TV, whatever it's called. That was good. It has Chris Evans plays the dad, but I don't have Apple TV to watch it. But I read the book and it was a lot. It was really good.
I've been thinking about reading Fight Club because that's me and Brooke's movie this week.
Oh, that's your movie? I'm really upset you didn't invite me to Clueless.
Sorry. I thought about it. But we kept even forgetting that it was Clueless. Like, we didn't even announce it in our episode before Clueless because we kept forgetting about it.
I still haven't listened to your episode, but do you talk about it, her making out with her ex-stepbrother?
We do mention it.
Paul Rudd of it all.
We try to decide how weird it is because they don't give us a lot of context. Like, how close of step siblings were they? How long were their parents together?
Well, yeah, like how many wives has her dad actually had? Like, if it's like wife number 6 for like 6 months.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a
or
big
did
deal.
they grow up together?
Yeah. Like, I know it would
we
be
decided
weird.
It seemed like they were probably older and their parents weren't together for long.
Kind of like say we had a stepbrother for a minute and say Ryan came and moved to Minnesota and I'm like, I think I'm going to go on a date with Ryan. I feel like that would be weird though.
It'd still be weird.
Yeah. Like I kind of think of it like.
Yeah, because then you get like, if you guys ended up getting married and everyone would be like, oh, how'd you guys meet?
But also
our parents were married.
But also our parents were married for like over 5 years, kind of. But we only knew
our
of him.
Parents?
Our biological father and Renee were married for over 5 years.
Yeah.
But our father didn't raise us. But we did spend time with him as a brotherly role for a weekend. I don't know. It would be weird, actually.
Yeah.
Thinking about it like that would be too much.
Yeah. And if you guys like looked at family photos or something.
Yeah, like we have those photos. Like I don't think I could ever see Ryan in a sexual...
Isn't that weird though that he probably knows that side of the family better than we do?
Yeah, because he's actually met them.
Yeah.
I finally was able to refund my hockey tickets I bought for Nick's birthday, but Ticketmaster's taking 30 days to issue refunds. So I'm still waiting for the actual refund.
Yeah.
Which is great. But no, what was I going to say?
Speaking of refunds, I just returned stuff to Levi's. How are the jeans I sent you?
They're too big, but my friend is going to take them.
Yeah, I don't think I liked the color. It looked funny.
Yeah. They're light.
Yeah.
Not like too light, but
they're not too light like my other pair that I like, but they're like somewhere in the middle and it just
they're very soft.
Giving me bad vibes.
No.
It was too late to return them.
But I have a stand-up comedy show on June 17th. So I'm still
not canceled?
Not yet. So I'm still trying to figure out if that is. It's not like a big well person. She's a podcaster. Do you know Heather McMahon?
No.
Oh, she's really funny. She's a show coming out. I think it's being produced by Judd Apatow. But yeah. I mean, I'm okay. I hate that things are getting canceled, but I'm kind of okay with getting my money back.
Yeah. Yeah, or even if you just hold on to your tickets for a rescheduled date. Like, I don't think I haven't asked for refunds for any of my concerts that got canceled. I think I'm just going to hang on to them till next year.
Kind of worried about My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, but they'll reschedule.
Yeah. All right. We're at an hour and a half and I really have to pee.
Okay.
So I'm going to go pee. Thanks for listening, guys. Yay.